tax plans are a major focus on the 2016 campaign trail, but which candidate has laid out the best plan so far? Let's bring Americans for Tax Reform President in Grover Norquist. He is your tax man in a good way, Grover, not in a bad way like taking people's money and then misspending it. You're welcome. Grover, who do you need to get more detail from on their tax plans? You got Ben Carson talking about the 15% rate, but that's just the beginning of getting some sort of detail from him, at least.
He's laid out an outline. Most of the others have actually put forward plans. Ted Cruz, Rand Paul, they've all put together quite good proposals. What's interesting is that all the proposals mesh together. They all go towards a single rate. They all have full expensing for business investment. They do territoriality to make us more competitive internationally. They take the corporate rate down, which is not competitive right now. We're at 35. The European average is 25. So what's interesting is all the Republican plans are very similar in a good way. That means when one of them gets elected, a plan very much like that will pass the House, the Senate, and become law.
Which plans do you have problems with at all, or the lack of detail from the candidates you might take issue with?
Well, Carson hasn't really flushed it out yet. He says he wants a single rate, which is a very good start. You should treat everybody the same, not because that's fair, but because it's difficult to raise. It's very difficult to raise a single rate tax because you have to look everybody in the eye and tell them you're going to raise their taxes. I'm originally from Massachusetts. We have a single rate tax in Massachusetts, and it's 5.5%, a lot lower than you might expect from a liberal democratic state because everybody pays the same rate.
Just one more thing before I bring in Anthony and Scott. With Trump's tax plan, he says what is already happening in this country. Half of Americans aren't going to pay any federal income tax. The other half will, and they will bear the burden of financing our defense, for example. He didn't say that. Those are my own words. Do you have any issues with that?
I think we should focus on reducing taxes, not on shifting the tax burden from one to another. Over time, as incomes raise, everyone will end up paying taxes. We need to get more people on the tax rolls through growth and more jobs. If we'd been growing at Reagan rates during this recovery, we'd have 12 million more Americans at work. That's the human cost of Obama's very slow economic growth. And I'm very excited that tonight we're going to have a real debate with real questions about economics and economic growth and tax policy, because we haven't had that in the last three debates.
Grover, I have a question related to deficit spending, because a lot of the Republicans have signed your tax pledge not to increase taxes, and yet they go out alongside of the Democrats and they put in all these spending packages. Are deficits unfunded tax liability, and aren't they actually secretly backdooring and violating your pledge?
Well, the pledge is not to raise net taxes. There's another challenge that we have, and we saw this during the Bush years. We need to stop spending so much money. What we do need to do there is the Paul Ryan budget, which the House of Representatives has 5 times passed, and the Senate could pass it, but what we need is a president to sign it. If we elect a Republican president, you'll pass the Paul Ryan budget plan, which reforms all the entitlements, saves about $5 trillion over the next decade. It really does answer the concern you have, which is, how do we rein in spending? And the good news is the Republicans in the House have 5 years in a row passed a specific budget which does just that. It's not some hope. The Republicans have done that. Right. What we don't have is a president who'll sign the bill yet.
Well, Grover, you said earlier that when one of these plans actually comes out and they bring it forward to the House and Senate, we're going to pass it. And you know as well as I do that there's been many bills. As you just referenced, the House has passed a bill, and the Senate, you can't get the 60 votes to move it forward or any kind of cooperation whatsoever. So they've been talking about it, as Carly Fiorina referenced, forever, and they've done nothing. And they know that we have the highest corporate tax rate. They know we have incredible overregulation. They know about repatriation, and yet they've done nothing. So what makes you so optimistic this time?
Well, if you have a Republican president, you could get the bill signed. The problem we have in Washington, D.C., is that President Obama is not in favor of any tax reform that doesn't include at least $1 trillion in new and higher taxes. He sees tax reform as a hostage to which he wants to attach massive higher taxes. That's exactly what the Republicans won't give him. A Republican president will sign one of those tax bills or a version of it.
Thank you.
Grover, thank you so much.